Okay, so usually I'd read one card at a time, but the way the story's piecing together, I may hop around from card to card. Feel free to take notes. I encourage people to take notes. If there's a card that stands out to you or you want to learn them all, learn more, type it into Google. Um, I'll tell you if it has a traditional name versus the name that I have here in my deck. So I have the Ace of Wands and the Ten of Swords. And when I pulled those cards, I knew this reading was going to be very good. So the aces in a tarot situation show the beginning of something, and they can often show someone going at it alone. Um, Aces are good. It's the beginning of a new cycle. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean the beginning of that new cycle is going to be effortless and seamless. If you think about, all the times where you've had to rebuild or restart something. You might have changed careers or changed, jobs. It wasn't necessarily something you wanted to do, but it ended up being for the best. That's kind of how I see that the ace. Now, with this being the Ace of Wands, this is a card of action, fast action, strong, great movement is the wand suit. And again, it's not necessarily easy or super fun, but and not to say a pun, but if you play your cards right and you are accepting of your responsibilities and you make the hard decisions and you do what's best for you and your kids, it shows that, the results are going to be worth it. So the Ace of Wands here with the Ten of Swords is very telling. So the beginning of your cycle, the beginning of this cycle of your life is going to begin to open up as the other one is coming to a close. The Ten of Swords is one of the worst cards in the deck. So the typical image, like you'd see on the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, is a man who's laying face down, and he has 10 swords in his back. He's dead. He's dead. Um, it's not good. No, that doesn't mean you're gonna die. It's far from what that means. But it does show an end to a situation. It can show a crisis. It can show things just all out battle. And I mean, you've been living a battle. But when this, comes to a head, it's going to be very difficult. I mean, there's no way to sugarcoat this. I'm not going to sugarcoat this for you because I've been there. Thank God I didn't have kids. Thank the goddess as well, because I learned a lot of lessons from that relationship and from that time in my life that made me a way stronger person so I could have and protect my child. I don't think I would have been able to do it if I had a child, because it was just, once someone gets their claws into you and they beat you down so much, it's like, you know we're always going to do what we need to do to survive. But as difficult as it was, I'm just very glad I'm not in that situation. But a mother's love knows no bounds. You know this. You can survive on the love for your children and the desire to protect your children. That's all you need. And it gives you an edge. Because sometimes people can't do it for themselves. But when your kids are involved, you'll walk across fire. The Ten of Swords is showing me whether you want it to or not, whether you make the moves or not, this cycle of your life is coming to an end. This isn't sustainable. You know that. And it's only going to get worse. I'm seeing here, if you choose you, make your plans, live in alignment with your highest self, think about Take all the feeling out of it. Logically, if you have to make pros and cons lists, whatever you need to do, logically write things out or think things out without your feelings involved. What would a stranger do? If a stranger was telling you this story, what would you tell them to do? And apply that to your life. If a stranger was telling you about a relationship just like yours, what would you tell that person? You're able to give that person impartial advice that's not biased and that isn't swayed by emotions and past experiences, because that you don't know that stranger. You need to be able to take that stance with yourself and try to have that analytical and logical mindset of, I know that this situation is bad for me. 10 of Swords bad for me. I know it's not sustainable. I know that my children are suffering. Even though y'all may not do anything in front of the kids, they pick up on everything. And not just that. I mean, energetically, yeah, they pick up on emotions and things. But you're not at your best capacity in the situation you're in. Think of the things that they're not getting, that they could be getting if you weren't in survival mode, if you weren't afraid, if they had more focus on them because there wasn't someone siphoning your energy or making you afraid. When he's snappy or angry or he's had too much to drink, wakes up hungover, whatever the case may be. I don't want to put words into your mouth or your head. I don't want to make generalizations. So I'm going to keep it very vague. But, when he's having a bad day, I imagine his bad days are really bad days. That kind of instability and the tension that's underneath the surface, that can make a serious impact on a child. It creates empaths. If you've ever heard of people talking about, I'm an empath, I can read everybody in the room in just a second. It creates empaths. It can create things like borderline personality disorders, serious anxiety disorders. And it can take a child from their sense of safety. So even though you don't realize it, and they don't realize it until they're grown, they don't have that sense of safety because the environment is unstable. It's not predictable in a bad way. Even that, just everything. There's so many different facets here as to why even just maintaining the peace in this situation is harmful for you and your babies, is what I'm trying to say. We don't know how much of their, things they're in therapy for, how much of that is caused just from bad energy and anger and, things that they hear and pick up on that we don't even think they hear and pick up on. Or even just the fact that there is a parent there who may not be able to give them the love and support that they need. Sometimes having a parent is worse than having no parent. And that comes into play when, in this case, I'm sorry, emotionally, I'm a little involved with, things like this. Sometimes having a bad parent is worse than having no parent. I'm going to stop trying to mince my words. If I offend you, I'm sorry. I usually start my services with a disclaimer that I'm probably going to say things that hit very close to home, that probably expose some wounds, and that, it may get a emotional response out of you. It's okay to be angry at me. It's okay to be offended. It's okay to cry or anything that you need to do during these sessions. Just know that anything I say here is out of love and out of the desire to help you. I will never attack you. or make you feel less than or try to. I will never look down on you for any situation you come to me with, including this one. So getting that out of the way. If you read about alcoholic parents, addict parents, narcissistic parents, they have like what they call the refrigerator mothers, where they take care of their child's basic needs, but they don't give that child any love or affection. All of those things affect a child on a very developmental level. So you have a parent who's angry, grumbly, probably not very huggy, or a lot of the things that comes out of their mouth is pessimistic, not encouraging, threatening, or what am I looking for here? It devalues instead of adds value. So your child cleans the room and they're really proud. And your mom would walk in and be like, "Hey, oh, it's about time you finally did that. Let's see if you can keep doing that." That hurts, and it gets stored in the mind. And it adds to the layers of a child's unworthiness. It can add so much to the record that plays in the background of your mind when you're an adult. When you feel like you're not good enough, you feel like you have to overdo. Even negative talk that's not abusive is detrimental to a child's psyche. And it can affect them for the rest of their life, and probably will. So, with the Ace of Wands and the Ten of Swords here together, it's going to be a battle. It's going to be what we call the dark night of the soul. I'm not going to sugarcoat, because you need to know this is probably, if you do decide to make the transition, this is probably going to be one of the hardest things you've ever done in your life. A dark night of the soul is basically where, I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but it's where you go through literal hell. Some people, it says they feel like they're just hollowed out inside. Extreme distress, despair, feelings. But the thing about the dark night of the soul is you come out on the other side a completely different person. The you that you were when you met this person doesn't exist anymore anyway. You're going to mourn the loss of that person, and you're probably going to try to spend some time trying to get her back. That's normal. But I'm seeing here it's going to be absolutely be worth it. This dark night of the soul is going to change you for the better. It is going to change your kid's life for the better. Financially, it's going to change for the better. The Five of Coins, or the Five of Pentacles, is what is traditionally called in reverse. So symbols on cards are very important. You can see these hands are outstretched here. And there's money, gems, jewels, and everything falling into the hands. This is very important. Once that ending has begun, this is going to start making its way to you. There's eyes in the middle of these palms as well. So this is showing me that you're also going to gain divine knowledge. You're going to be able to see things for what they really are. You're going to be able to see through people, especially men, for what they are, who they are. You're going to look at their content of their character based on what they do and not what they say. The world is going to look different to you. Some other things that are on this card. We have a tree, we have gems, a flower, but we also have a key. This key is going to unlock doors for you. Endless doors for the rest of your life. You got to get through that first door, though. The thing about reverse cards is usually they're not so great. This is one of the few where it shows up in reverse, and it's a really good thing. But it also can mean spiritual poverty. The Ten of Swords. It's going to be a longer process than what you might think. You're not just going to leave and cry and be upset, and then be okay. Healing is not linear. It's going to take some time to get on your feet. All of this is divine timing. Every bit of this is going to be divine. You are going to have angels, Archangel Michael, your spirit guides, your ancestors are going to be there with you. You're not going to be alone, but you're going to feel like you're the most loneliest person in the world. The dark night of the soul is very important. Not everyone is able to have it because they refuse to make the changes necessary to live their best life, because they're not mentally able to handle the pain that they know is going to come with those choices. People are scared to make those choices because they fear the unknown. People are afraid to make those choices because it's easier to deal with the bad reality you have, and the thought of getting into a situation that could be worse or it could be just as bad is just terrifying. And sometimes, sometimes I can't blame people, but those people won't be happy. And those emotions that you're processing during your dark night of the soul, those realizations, those really boring, quiet days where you're climbing the walls because there's nothing left to do, you're broke, and you're just trapped with your thoughts, and you're strong enough not to use substances or alcohol. Those thoughts, the racing thoughts that you have that go through your head, the emotions that you have, the tears that come out of your face, the grief, the deep pain, you're not just going to be processing the loss of this relationship. You're not just going to be processing emotions from your abuse. You're going to be dealing with trauma that you even got back in childhood, which is why you change on such a fundamental level. In order for you to process an emotion completely, you have to feel it and experience it in its entirety. Sometimes people, they'll cry for a little bit, they'll let it out, they'll be done. Some people, they'll avoid it as much as possible. They stuff it down. Some people can't even cry. They can't, they try to distract their brains with TV, and they don't want to think about the hard things because why are we thinking negative? Well, there's a big difference between being caught in a negative mindset and thinking about negative things in a logical way. The dark night of the soul changes so fundamentally. You're and I say this over and over because I can't express to you how amazing of a woman is on the other side of this event. For the longest time, I thought I was damaged. I thought that I had left my personality, half of my soul that night behind. But really, I had all this carry-on luggage from all of these years of pain and denial and tragic events and not being loved enough, and you could go on and on. And that night, I didn't leave my soul behind. I left my baggage behind. And everything I thought was me, that was actually just coping mechanisms, mental illness, self-deprecating humor, insecurity, not knowing who I am, not knowing what I wanted, other people's opinions, the heavy baggage that comes with trying to put on all the masks and be everything everybody wants you to be. Put on the happy mask, all that. I left that behind. And when I realized that I lost a lot, but it needed to be lost, and I gained more. And when I realized I was actually a more confident person, a more capable person, a more wise person, I stopped mourning the loss of that person. I celebrated what I had gained. Judgment in reverse shows that you have a tendency to misjudge situations, And I believe that this has a very heavy emotional influence. Sometimes it's okay to tell ourselves it's going to be okay, even if we don't know, because you need to stay positive as much as possible when you don't have anything else. And the law of attraction says you get in what you put out. If you put out positive, you get positive. If you have a negative or lacking mindset, that's exactly what you're going to get back from the universe. The universe does not speak in negatives. So if you're putting out negative, you get not what you're looking for. What worries me with this card is this can be a card of danger. And it shows misjudging of a situation to the point to where it could have put you in danger or will put you in danger. And I don't want to scare you, but if you've noticed an escalation in aggression or the physicality of things, pay attention to that. I believe it's a woman who's been strangled by her spouse has 7 times more likely chance of being unalived by that man. And they haven't done studies on this, but I find with my clients that very often a man who makes jokes about unaliving people or unaliving their wife has already thought about doing it. If the abuse has gotten to that point, if he's pulled a knife and flashed it, if it seems to cross the line from explosive anger to the first 48 show, that is an emergent situation. Like, you need to have a 48-hour exit strategy and do it. I can't express to you how important it is for you to make a exit plan. Put it where he can't find it. After you watch this, clear your browser history. Log out of your Etsy. Don't leave any trace of this. Judgment reverse has a few connotations. You may be in the habit of telling yourself that everything's okay. Judgment in reverse can also just show, that you've misjudged people or situations to your detriment. And I feel that, in the beginning, when we meet our abuser or we meet our narcissist, a lot of women feel like failures, or they feel like, oh, why didn't I see the signs? Why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that? Well, it's important to know that in the very beginning, they're in a state of actively attempting to deceive you, 1, and 2, they're spinning this image, this very carefully crafted image of what they want you to think that they are. They're love bombing, and they will go through hell and high water to hide every red flag. You have to be experienced by having lived through it in order to see the red flags, to see the inconsistencies, to pick up your intuitive vibes off of these people. You can't recognize it until you've been through it. Or you can't recognize it unless you've seen it, like a sister or a mother or a stepdad or something. Because you cannot see these people coming. What they do, the way they operate, it defies all logic. So don't beat yourself up about that. But also don't gaslight yourself. Don't tell yourself, oh, it's going to be okay. It's not that bad. The other ladies that, you see on TV or whatever, their situation was different. And he may be a jerk, or he may hit me, or he may do this, but he would never cross that line. It's never going to get that bad. He doesn't beat the kids. He doesn't do this. So it's okay. That's a dangerous mistake. And it's not, this is not sustainable. Regardless of, okay, well, it's never going to turn into that. Alcoholism is not sustainable. It's either going to escalate or, get out of hand in some way until something happens. Health gives out, you know, he becomes unfunctional, he can't work anymore. And then what happens? There's no healthy maintenance of alcoholism, even if you're a high functioning alcoholic. There's no healthy maintenance of abuse. At some point, something somewhere is going to get out of hand. So it may not be all doom and gloom. I don't want you to think. I don't want you to think that I'm just trying to scare you, and your situation may be different, or your sister was in an abusive relationship and it didn't get that bad, or all grandma and grandpas, they've been married for 40 years and it's considered abusive, but they still manage to cohabitate. But be real with yourself. Kids grow up. Alcoholism gets worse. Obviously, he has a mental illness situation that has not been in check for a long time. I don't see, with the circumstances, this getting any better. So, and on the days where you begin to try to soothe yourself mentally, ask yourself, well, how much worse could it get? Really? And let that be your motivation. Your answer needs to be your motivation for keeping your head clear. More traditional meanings behind this card. You're letting fear hold you back. And you're refusing to learn lessons that the universe is sending you. We call these karmic lessons. Sometimes you might hear about soulmates. You hear about karmic soulmates. I'll get to that in a bit. But karmic means karma. In our past lives, we have to pay the piper in our next life for what we did in our last life. But also, we signed up for lessons when we reincarnated onto this earth. Now, I don't know what your religious beliefs are, but this is the way I understand it to be. If you're spiritual at all, I think it'll resonate with you a little bit. Before we come here, we make our soul contracts. We come here to learn so our soul can evolve. And we sign ourselves up for trials and tribulations. Those trials and tribulations are where we learn and we gain aspects of our, we learn about our capabilities. We learn self-love. We learn how to make sacrifices. We learn how to put ourselves first. We learn not to trust words, but actions. We learn how to motivate ourselves, how to be courageous, things like that. Up until this point, this card is showing me that you're failing to learn your karmic lessons. And in this case, I think it may be partially self-love. Just really trusting individuals that you shouldn't. Not really feeling you're worthy. You have to learn that you are worth being treated well. You don't have to sacrifice your basic needs, your comfort, and your safety because someone else doesn't deem it important. You deserve to be happy, and you deserve to be content, and you deserve not to have to walk on eggshells. And it's also lessons of strength. You may not feel like you're strong enough to do this. And the only way you're going to learn that you're strong enough is by actually doing it. I feel like you're blaming yourself for a lot of things that aren't your fault. And sometimes things don't really need to be assigned blame. Sometimes things just are what they are. It's not your fault for not seeing the signs. It's not your fault he is the way he is. It's not your fault that, I don't know what you're blaming yourself for, but it's not your fault that your children are autistic. I am autistic, my son's autistic, and my husband's autistic. And that's nobody's fault. And actually, in this home, it's a huge strength, and it's something to be celebrated. Vaccines did not give your children autism. What you ate when you were pregnant did not give your children autism. It's genetic. The only things that you should be blaming yourself for are things that you've done with full knowledge of what you're doing. You can't help what someone else's trauma is. You can't help anything but you and your kids. You can't take responsibility onto your shoulders because somebody else refuses to bear the responsibility of their action. So this is really a card of urgency. Judgment in reverse it's a really big card. The opportunities that I showed you with the 5 of coins, the opportunities aren't going to be there forever. So if you continue to let fear hold you back from whatever opportunities may be arising, you may lose those opportunities. And I don't want to scare you, but I'm struggling here. I'm usually very positive and outgoing, and I'm not right now because I feel there's a very heavy weight on my chest right now because I feel bad things. Sometimes the opportunity is just being alive, the ability to go, the ability to pack up and leave, the ability to breathe. So I don't want to scare you, but that could very well be the opportunity the cards are talking about here. I have Judgment in reverse and the 2 of Cups in reverse. The 2 of Cups always represents a couple. Upright, it's a soulmate, usually. Turned down like this, it's usually a karmic. This is a card for karmic lessons. This is a card of your marriage. If you look at the imagery, the cups are being poured out. The sun is setting. Normally there would be water pouring out of the goblets, and you have the flowers at the top here. I normally would not go this far into a reading and say things this alarming if I did not feel that it was a definite possibility. I don't think the flowers on top of here are for decoration. There's a reason why. There's a reason they're up there. And there's a reason the couple's underneath the flowers. The 2 of Cups, normally in a relationship reading, it shows troubled waters. It doesn't bode well for the couple. Sometimes the situation can be talked out, things can be worked out. But when you have the case of severe mental illness, narcissism, and abusive personality, you cannot change this person. Abusive people have 2 reasons why they're abusive. 1, their nature, their genetics, the way their brain is wired, and 2, their nurture, how they were brought up, the things they experienced, the way they internalize life, their personality type. All those things come together to create someone who's abusive. If someone is abusive and they truly want to change, and they go to therapy, and they have the ability to assess their own behavior, they may be able to change, but it does not come without years of trying and really trying, and it's almost unheard of. Abusive people have a tendency to view other people like property, and it's different and worse when you have narcissism or malignant narcissism in the mix. Malignant narcissists are narcissists who like to punish, who get enjoyment out of seeing other people hurt. They feel a deep-seated rage and are capable of great violence. Not just to get out of situations, not just to get what they want. A malignant narcissist will do these things for power. A sociopath does things out of necessity oftentimes, or comfort. And then you have a psychopath who enjoys the hunt and enjoys the kill and enjoys the pain of the person, or whatever they're, it depends on their target. There's very fine lines between all of these different types of abusers. Someone that abuses you out of need, they may mentally not be able to work, so they keep you confined, and they use you as a workhorse, and they take all your money, as oftentimes you see with like addicted, drug addicted men, where you're their ticket to comfort and you're their ticket to money. So they isolate you and use abusive tactics. And then you have people whose brains see their loved one as property. They see people, almost like animals. They don't have any empathy. And they get great enjoyment out of making people crazy. It's not just a means to an end. It's the whole situation really seems to bring them enjoyment. It's very difficult to change an abuser. Most of them don't want to be changed. And in the case of narcissism, it's an inability to see themselves from another person's shoes. Oftentimes, they'll say that narcissists go to therapy to learn how to be better narcissists. That's not a lie. If you have a difficult person who continually goes to therapy and never seems to get better, and their manipulative tactics get worse, their treatment of people gets worse, but they're better at hiding it, it's because they're a narcissist in therapy. There are therapists who will not work with narcissists because they know that they're going to be gaslit, they're wasting their time, and they're going to be playing with their emotions. Mental illness is one of the very few narcissists who got better with therapy. And that's because he desperately wanted to change. And he's willing to accept accountability for his actions. If you go to mental illness on TikTok, you'll see he keeps himself from acting on his tendencies, but he's still a narcissist, and he says that. I'm still a narcissist. I'm not a narcissist from therapy. I've just learned how my tendencies hurt people, and I don't want to hurt my wife anymore. He is one of the only people I've ever seen be able to get on top of his personality and try to rein it in. Then other meanings behind the Two of Cups. Change your focus. It's telling you it's time to change your focus to something else. 1, and 2, it's time to be selfish to your own needs. Like, you need to just be unapologetically selfish. Don't consider what your actions are, your self-improvement actions are doing to other people. If they're an adult, they've made their bed, they can lay in it, they'll figure it out. It is not your responsibility to keep other people comfortable. If someone's going to self-implode because you're doing better for yourself and you're putting yourself first, that is not your problem. That is their problem. You can't fix everything. So you have to make a decision. Am I going to fix myself? Am I going to fix my life? Or am I going to fix the world? There's no need to be a martyr. There are enough resources out there for people to fix themselves, 1, and 2, if you've put all of your effort into something and it's not getting better, and it's been a long time, I mean, how much longer are you going to wait? It's obvious that it's not working. Changing your approach, sacrificing more, none of that is going to make it better. The Two of Cups shows that you've been compromising your core values and you've been compromising your comfort for the good of other people. So you're not being true to yourself, and I think you already know that. You're trying to keep the peace by basically just swallowing everything that you are. Two of Cups is showing me a lot of stuff. That, it wears you down after a while. This card also appears when someone doesn't have your best interest at heart. And I think we already know that. So right after Judgment and the Two of Cups, we have the Hanged One. And this is a positive card. Usually this would be the Hanged Man. And he's usually just hanging by his foot, like doo, 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 doo. The imagery on this card is a woman's hand, like this. It's dangling a rose. There's a circle there. Life is a continuous circle. So I'm going to dig into this a little bit and see how this applies to you. So the Hanged Man, it's a good card because it's a good card and a bad card. And it's just telling the truth. I mean, it's just the facts, like what it is. So he's just kind of stuck there. And his foot's tied to the tree. And he's hanging upside down. And he's like, And the reason this is good is because he's stuck. He has time to ponder, time to think, and time to reframe life in a new way. He has time to look out and enjoy and see things from point of views he had never seen them before. Now, this card comes up when you're in a situation or a relationship you're not happy in. And it's also telling you, in order to release yourself from the tree, all you have to do is untie yourself. You are the only one keeping yourself in this situation. And the sooner that you realize that you're not in control, the sooner you take control, the sooner you'll be able to see things on the brighter side. You'll be able to stop and smell the roses. Relaxation's a big card here too. I feel like, when you're married to someone, even like a person like this, you try so hard to make things perfect so that they'll finally come see the light. So they'll finally stop being angry. So they'll finally see your worth. So you can finally have a good day. And you'll fight and fight and fight for that good day. But it's pointless. You may not see your way out right now, but this card's showing me the sooner that you put these things into action, you change your mindset, take the negative self-talk out, take the emotions and all that out, think logically, understand, don't let him put you in a space where you react out of anger or you're just reacting, fear of abandonment, things like that. Logically, go through the steps of your life. Start to manifest your way out. Manifest a better life for yourself. Instead of saying, I'm afraid, I'm afraid, I'm afraid. I can't. This is too much. This is too hard. Start telling yourself, I deserve better. I'm going to get better. I'm strong. My kids are going to have a great life. Because negative gets negative, but positive gets positive. And there's no limit on positive. Your path out, or your path to greatness, or your path to happy life and peace, it's going to manifest itself in front of you. And it's going to be pretty soon. I see everything happening pretty rapidly. But you've got to let go of the idea that you can control this person and their reactions. You can't fix everybody, and you can't fix your spouse. You've got to fix your situation for you. I know earlier I said that with the Five of Coins, it can show that you're going through spiritual poverty, but the silver lining to that is spiritually you may not really know where you fit in. You may not have any concrete beliefs. You may not have any faith in there being anything spiritual at all. But that means that it gives you the opportunity to learn and to figure out what you want to do, figure out what you believe in. and apply it to your life. So one thing you should really look up is the law of attraction. Positive gets positive, negative gets negative. Look up the law of attraction, and just, look up spirituality in general, because that can really be a beacon of light for you. One, two, it can be a pillar of strength. You can utilize spirituality in a way that will empower you as a woman, empower you as a mother. It can really help you stand up and do what is best for you without feeling any guilt. It cuts through all that. If you hear about people stepping into their power, reading different aspects of spiritual beliefs and researching what you're interested in, look into the different goddesses, or whatever your path happens to be. Expand your mind. You can read things by like Buddhist Tao Ching, I believe it's called. I'll send it to you. Read about Buddhist concepts. Read about how meditation can change your health. Read about how meditation can actually really do some amazing things. It's not just for relaxing. It can rewire your brain in a more healthy state. Read about, like different types of healing, crystals, whatever happens to catch your interest. Don't feel overwhelmed, but, look into different things. Be like, oh, that sounds really cool. Read a little bit about it. Watch a YouTube series about it. And the more you learn, the more it changes the way you view the world. Because right now we're seeing it through this little lens. So it could really open things up for you. And just knowing that you're not alone in this world, that we're all connected, that you do have the power to change your life, and not just change your life, but manifest the life that you want, is extremely empowering. Once you start to see some of the things that you're manifesting with your mind come into play, it's building your confidence. And before you know it, you'll be unstoppable, because you'll know that anything that you want to put into place, you can get it. And you don't have to cross a mountain to get it. Yeah, good things that are good are worth having. You'll work hard for. But it's not as hard as some people make it out to be. What's hard is making sacrifices. What is hard is going against our instincts to fix others or nurture and mother others, and instincts to be so helpful, we're actually hurting ourselves. It's a whole new way of being. And you can manifest money simply by the way you speak. You can manifest strength by the way you speak. You can manifest opportunities, new homes, new jobs, just by affirmations in the way you speak. I think that you'll really get a lot out of this if you do a little research, or even if you're just cleaning the house, pull it up on YouTube.